Hello and welcome to the ThreeWill podcast. This is your host, Danny Ryan, and I'm here with Tommy Ryan, my brother. How's it going, Tommy?
Wonderful. Just wonderful.
Okay, back away from the mic now. Thank you. Thank you for stepping into the mic. I'm looking down. It's a Friday. Did you wear special socks today? Let's see what you got.
These are my favorites.
Those are nice. Yeah. Nice. Warm colors. I'm still doing my little conservative at the bottom, a little crazy at the top, so we're getting them real. Today, fun topic, talk about where did we come up with the name of ThreeWill. And it's I think it'll sort of speak a little bit to sort of when we started the company out, sort of what were our founding values, those types of things. So I guess typically when people ask this, you hand this over to me to answer. So I'll take the initial cut and then you'll follow it up with some of your take on it as well. And when we were putting together the business plan for ThreeWill, we kept on running into the number 3. So I would just kept on noticing that. And it's one of those things that it's funny when the kids were doing a play. Now I'm going to blank it. Where three's the magic number.
Okay.
Was one of the songs, and just sort of talked a lot about sort of how things come in threes, and so that was sort of the initial thing that started us off. And we talked a lot about people, process, technology. That was one of the core things. And that's really, when you look at being successful in any venture in life, there's sort of the who, the what, and how that you have to address in order to be successful. So we kept on coming back to that. And then one of our core values that we had was ThreeWill. We wanted to create a place that people were excited to be there. It wasn't, get rid of this whole idea of you've got a boss, you're coming in and can't wait till Friday, and really where people wanted to come in and really serve other people. And that was fundamental to what we wanted to do. So one of our shared values was ThreeWill. And then, of course, I went out and I where every good idea for me comes from, which is I was out on a run, and I thought, hey, why don't I combine some of the things that we've been talking about into sort of a new word that might have the domain name available. And so went out there and searched for ThreeWill.com, and it was available, and it just sort of summarized sort of what I thought we were doing when we were stepping off to create this new venture, which we originally talked about Ryan Solutions. That's right. And what was it, Ryan Brothers, or just some different ideas based on our last name. But we wanted to be a little bit bigger than, hey, it's the Danny and Tommy Ryan show. It's not. It's really not. It's about the people who are here and the clients that we serve. So. What do you have to add to that? Was that a perfect summary?
It's a great summary.
Yeah, thanks.
And we can finish right here if you want.
No, this is all. People will turn it off now. They're all done. He answered the question, so move on to anything else as far as what?
A couple things.
Yeah.
I think you said at the end there that we didn't pick like Ryan Solutions, something that you might say. Some consulting groups will do that, especially in law firms where it's Drew Eckel and Farnham, or some combination of people's last names that were the founders of the company. I think we looked at it as more of how can we leave a legacy as a company, and one of my biggest goals is can ThreeWill last beyond the Ryan brothers. So to name it Ryan Solutions, it can last beyond us, but I think the intent is there's a bigger purpose there than just two guys. That there's a certain vision and value that people want to stand behind and be a part of, and to speak to more of the core principles and shared values of the organization. It was much more appropriate. And you're more creative than that. You've got the ability to think about things that are beyond the first thought, and ways to kind of combine things together. And you love the name. The name is so positive. Three and Will. Both of those you think of good things, very positive things. We even have people think about us being a religious, a religious organization because of three and because of free will. Those are very, I think Christian, or you could even say broader than Christian principles, that that's that number 3. Also, I look at it as anything that is going to stand up. You need that 3-legged stool.
That's
to have concepts. A lot of the things that we do usually comes in pairs of 3. And so that number kind of is important to us, and it speaks beyond, I think, the people, process, and technology. But those are the appropriate buckets for us to think about. How do we organize around our business? How do we explain what's important to us? Is through that people, process, and technology, and taking it through that progression of when we think about someone joining ThreeWill, people is the most important part of that, and that's the first kind of litmus test to say, is this a person that's right for ThreeWill? And then process, how do we get things done together as a team, this whole work together better? It comes through good process. And then technology is where most of these folks are very passionate about, and so to have those 3 things kind of tied together and is integral to the name of the company, I think it's really important to us.
Has the name changed, sort of the meaning for it changed through the years, or what is it? And then how have let me start off with that question. It's been pretty consistent for you as far as what ThreeWill means to you?
It's been consistent. That's the nice thing about it, is I don't think the way we describe ThreeWill as, where did that name come from? That story has stayed the same since day one. We haven't really had to embellish it. It is what it is. It's people, process, and technology, and our most important shared value. I don't think it's just one of them. I think it's the most important one, which is, people choosing to come to ThreeWill to, make a difference. And it's more of a carrot mentality type organization versus a carrot and stick balance, or just a stick balance. I think we put so much energy into the carrot side of what we do that you don't need the stick. And there's situations where you have that, but it's a really pretty much an exception to the rule, because we have such high expectations out of people that I think people just raise up to that occasion of doing the best they can with their abilities and their skills.
As you know, I'm an INFP, and INFPs are constantly looking for meaning in their life, and so sort of I think I like it because it gives sort of a bigger reason why we're doing what we're doing. I think it. I just like that it's a constant reminder of us that we're choosing to be here. We have the one of the best gifts from God is our free will, is our ability to choose, and it constantly. On a daily basis, we can make that decision. And for me, just having the name of the company, just sort of being that reminder that's there for you, that's been really good for me, because it just sort of keeps pulling me back to the. Okay, well, in this, whatever I'm up against, am I going to make I have the God-given ability to make a decision here, and am I going to make the best decision based on the information that I have, or what I feel like my conscience has guided me to, or what I feel like God's calling me to? And I just like it's just part of the, it's part of this culture that's here, is that we all are, we have free will, and then some of the other shared values are like responsibility and teamwork, which I think sort of back that whole value up as well. It's sort of a balance as well as one of them, and so sort of we sort of have that leading value, and then along with that have a lot of other shared values which sort of emphasize different aspects of free will.
Right, and I think what's nice about free will and the rest of our values is, I think it's integral to our personal life. I think we don't bring on a different mindset when we come to work. It's really just who we are as individuals. That the whole choose to succeed. I know that tagline, we used to have it on our business cards and along with the logo. I still think that rings true, and we have worked together better, but I think that's more towards what do we do versus who we are,
Yeah.
and that choose to succeed. Gosh, it just rings through the people at ThreeWill. We went through our company meeting this morning and looked at all the projects that that are going on.
Yeah.
And we probably have a project per person, basically, and 3 teams, that someone would be a part of. And it's just the nature of what's going on now. But it's just amazing to see. We're not forcing people to do what they do here at ThreeWill, and people that rise to the occasion of, I've got a challenge here and I want to meet that challenge, and it puts a heavy, I think, responsibility on us to say, how do we balance that? How do we keep that balance? We're going to be out of balance every once in a while, but when we're out of balance, making the efforts to bring it back into balance.
Nice. I wanted to talk, before we wrap this up, talk a little bit about the logo, which our first logo, I think, was the Biohazard logo. And it was the whole Venn diagram of the 3 circles and sort of focusing in on that center portion of the circle of the people, process, technology.
It was correct. It just visually,
it just made you want to run for the hills. So from a marketing standpoint, I was bright enough to say, okay, well, maybe need to move to something else. And then we went to one that was more of like the 3 pillars, and we had a logo that I liked that was sort of took what we, I would remind people of the name. We took the T and the W, put them together, and sort of created what I thought was a nice little badge. And then within the last 5 or so years, sort of have a new version of the logo that we worked on, and really is emphasizing, you can see 3 people, the interaction between 3 people, which we're very into creating collaborative applications as sort of the whole, how are we working together with other people, and trying to tie that together. So you can distinctly see 3 people. I also like the idea of, I think for me personally, is when we interact with other people, we're not just responsible to that other person, and not to get all religious on you, but we're also responsible to God as well. So there's always a third person involved in every relationship that we have. For instance, with our spouses and everybody that we interact with, we not only have are working with them, but we also have a relationship with God, which I like. That's sort of a reminder for me. And then if people don't pick this up with the logo or the badge of currently, and I'll actually take a couple of pictures of this, but if you take our logo and turn it sideways, you have 3. You have 1 and then an ellipsis, and then 3, which is, how does 1 turn into 3? And it's a whole idea of, I hate the overused word of synergy, but of how do you make 1 + 1 = 3? How do you make something larger than itself when you're adding 2 things together? And I think for us, there's always that sort of thought in the back of our mind of, how are we able to do these projects where there is basically 1 project per person and they're on multiple projects? How are we more than ourselves, and how are we able to do this with other team members? I know starting out the company, I think one of the things I was most excited about was what we were able to do on small teams. We were able to multiply what we were able to do as individuals on teams. And that great feeling that you have when you're on a team and you're able to produce so much more working together with just a couple of other folks.
Yeah.
That excited me, as we started this whole thing out.
I think, we always valued that small, effective teams was really a mindset for us, and to go into projects humbly confident, in a way that we can, work with the other individuals on the project, where sometimes it could be threatening to your client to work with someone on their team, where, they bring in the consultants, and a lot of times it gets, put in the hands of the consultants. You go do it, take care of it.
Yep.
And we really push very hard towards it being a team effort. And some customers don't want to do that, but we do our best to get them involved as much as possible, because we know that's where it becomes 1 + 1 = 3, is it being an effort that they're involved along the way, and we were able to create something that goes beyond just a solution, but something that they're bought into, that they're proud of, that they stick behind when it gets launched and goes out into their environments.
Well, it's been, 15, almost 16. I guess we're working on that. 16 years now. And we haven't had to rename the company, so I consider it a success that at least we start. And I think if we started off with something that the whole traditional, Salesforce naming itself Salesforce, but it's so many different things nowadays. I think taking something that's more of a concept, and this is our guiding principle, has helped us stay away from, oh my gosh, 16 years ago we started off doing this, but now we're doing this.
Yeah, like SharePoint solutions. If we named ourselves something like that, then we'd have to rebrand as we look at doing things beyond SharePoint.
Yep. So it's served us well. It's been nice. And someday we have to have some sort of a mascot, and we've gone through the whole whale as
ThreeWill.
I think that's a movie, and I think someone owns the copyright to that. We'll have to talk to Time Warner about that, but that's always a possibility.
Well, they're merging with one of our big customers, so maybe we'll have some leverage there.
What is this whole part in this contract where you're asking for the name Willie and a whale? What does that mean? Just sign it. Just sign it. It's okay. Just sign it. And then we'll have a whale all over our website. Which a whale is a good connotation, because a whale is, going from a project standpoint, it's going after something really big.
Yeah, we go after the whales.
We go after the whales.
We're not shy of that.
It's not a bad mascot at all. So we're working on that. Of course, Linda gave me the little Free Willy that I often have here in my office. That's a little whale. So, but yeah. Well, I appreciate you taking the time to do this.
Sure, Dan.
It's often good just to go back to the roots. And I had one, I think Kaylee was working on something a couple months ago, and Amy came to me and she was like, where does the name ThreeWill come from? I was like, well, I answer that all the time, but I just didn't have anywhere to point to on the website. So now we hopefully will have some. Now we have a page that we can point her to. You mentioned humble confidence. Maybe we can cover that. I think we could talk for at least 10 minutes about that.
I love humble confidence.
Because I think it's a balancing thing. How are you confident and how are you humble at the same time? And I really think that's one of the things that I'm surprised we talk about that when we talk about our values, but our people, that's a consistent theme that we have and something we keep on coming back to. So I'd like to talk about that next week.
Okay. Love to.
Great. Well, thank you everybody for taking the time to do this. I'll take a couple of snapshots of the logo and show it sideways. That people are always surprised to see that. And I really appreciate you taking the time to learn a little bit more about ThreeWill and sort of where we came from and what we're passionate about. So thank you for taking the time to listen to this today. Thank you, Tom.
You're welcome, Danny.
Have a great day, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.